So I want to talk about Machiavelli and why I believe the book in itself, The Prince, it's a really great book, you know, because it's more and more of it focuses more on why people seek power. Like for me, how I read it and how I interpret it, I actually find it interesting that people seek power because of their traumatic experiences, like the things that we went through as human beings, you know. And it's fortunate that most of us, it tends to work out for us when we do these things, when we apply these strategies that we see from movies and books and, all sorts of things that has to do with power. And the reason I say it's fortunate is because the trauma becomes the motivator for you to seek power, And I regard Machiavelli as a philosopher, though others might not see him as that particular person. I consider him a philosopher. The reason I say so is because I'm getting to understand that Machiavelli not only wrote about power and strategies on how to gain power. For me, when I read it, I interpret it to say, why do human beings seek power? What's the main point? Why do we seek power? What are we aiming to achieve with the power, with the status of power? You get what I'm saying? And I've come to a conclusion that most of us have traumatic experiences that we cannot tend to deal with accordingly. So we therefore seek power. We therefore seek things that are out of us so we can deal with the pain inside. And when you read more about the Prince, you get to understand that when you went through a whole lot of trauma, a whole lot of back and forth with people, you get to understand that you will find every reason to betray other people. You will find any reason to misuse and mislead and be deceitful to other people. Why? It's because that emotional trauma, it has a build-up in it, and it's been hidden for a very long time, to a point where when it leaks out, it tends to destroy even things that are not necessary to be destroyed. So Machiavelli, when he wrote The Prince, he also explored the dark parts of a human being. To say a human being, it can be a very monstrous creature. You can be the very thing that you fear becoming. Why? We live in a world where playing the virtuous card, you always get, an approval for everything. Being a good person, being kind, no one has to worry about you. But we forget that as human beings, deep inside of us, there's that grudge, there's that there's that part of you that feels like you want to destroy things. You feel like nobody should mess with me. I'm dangerous. I am that dangerous. If you try me, I could do this. I could be deceitful. I could be manipulative when I want to. And he says that we are trying to hide these things because we are choosing to play the virtuous card. And the more we resist the darkness inside of us, the more it persists into the world that we're living in. And that's why the world, as we view it today, we feel like, no, the world is so effed up. Why are we living in such a world where things are so complicated? Why are people doing such bad things? It's because we have a lot of traumatic experience that we never got to handle. And we found power, and when we find power, we misuse power or we abuse power based on the traumas that we have inside. And you therefore end up unleashing the beast inside of you. So that's why I consider him a great philosopher, because he taps into the dark parts of the mind, the dark parts of the human psyche that the human being in itself doesn't want to go to. Human beings are very complex creatures. you can never really understand a human being. I don't fully understand myself, but I'm taking steps into understanding. I'm taking steps into understanding what this thing is. I'm a spirit inside a vessel. I'm trying to understand what's the whole point of this vessel. Why does it experience emotion? Why does it go through traumatic experiences? Why does it act the way it does? You know? And yeah, unfortunately, you cannot have the answers, all of them, at a go. You know? But I feel like philosophy plays a huge role into understanding what the human being is, what the human being aims to do, what the human being tries to maneuver when it's going through the world. And funny enough, you get to understand that human beings, they try to interpret themselves based on how good they feel, right? And what I mean about that is, a person only understands himself or herself when he or she is happy, when everything is going good, when everything is aligned with the goals that they want to achieve. They fully explain themselves, they fully understand themselves. But that right there is not understanding what a human being is. It's not understanding yourself. It's particularly understanding yourself when you're going through beautiful moments, going through happy moments. That's you. That's how you react. That's how you respond to the world. For me, to really know a human being, because I've been playing a virtuous card for a very long time, for me to really know what a human being is, or to really know what myself is going through the dark parts of myself, becoming the very thing that I'm avoiding, becoming narcissistic, becoming manipulative, deceitful, and whatsoever. Remember, Machiavelli, when he wrote this, he wasn't simply preaching to do this for fun. I believe he was preaching it to say the human being should understand itself more. You know? And that's why I say sometimes it's how you read the book and how you interpret it. In my own way, I interpret it to say the more and more you play, in fact, let me correct myself. The more and more you experience the world using the one side of the brain or using the one side of the eye, you basically keep the world in balance. Now the scale sits like this, right? The scale sits like that. But Machiavelli is encouraging you to say, go on the opposite side, where the world says you shouldn't go there, where the society doesn't encourage people to go there. He says go there. Why? There are more answers in the dark as compared to the light. Because the light only illuminates what's already in the spotlight. But you would find out that there are more things hidden in the dark as opposed to the ones that are in the spotlight. You know? So Machiavelli, he is right. I agree with him. The book, it's not about power, it's about you, it's about understanding you. It's about understanding the dark parts of yourself. Because if you don't get to interpret the dark parts of yourself, you can never fully say you know yourself. You don't have any right to say you know yourself. So here we are, human beings, 2,000 years later, we're still struggling to understand ourselves. We've been given books, People have been writing books, have been philosophizing everything, and we still feel stuck. It's because we're not facing the traumas inside of us. Deep down, there's something anchoring our souls. Our souls aren't cleansed, honestly. And we're still waiting for a miracle to happen. It's never going to happen. Jesus said this. He said, I shall collapse the kingdom of God to rebuild a new one. I mean, you must cleanse your soul to enter the kingdom of God. So if something is always anchoring you, if you have a traumatic experience that you went through and you still haven't dealt with it, it means you are halting your process of evolving. So you therefore cannot evolve. So you should think about it. Machiavelli only was talking about experiencing the dark parts of your mind. Everything that he says might not sound metaphysical, it might sound logical, but it's the opposite that is always the truth. It's how you read it, it's how you understand it, it's how you interpret it, and how you apply it in your own life. And that's why most successful people, they tend to be bad people. Why? It's because they know how to keep the balance between good and bad. You can play the virtuous card for whatever time you want. You want to achieve on it. You will feel stuck for a very long time. And that's how it's supposed to feel. Because you keep playing the virtuous card, hoping that a miracle will happen so that someone will cleanse your traumatic experiences. And the reason I keep saying traumatic experiences, I keep saying that because trauma is the only thing in this world can motivate you to become who you are. Without trauma, you have no reason to do anything. Trauma is like a hunger that makes you say, I have to go get a job. I have to feed my family. I have to put bread on top of the table. That's trauma right there. It's the biggest motivator for all of us. Introverts, they didn't become introverts by choice. It's trauma. Extroverts didn't become extroverts by choice. It's trauma. Everything is trauma. But it's also important to deal with the trauma so you can move the anchor off your neck, so you can ascend. So you have to ascend. Dante even wrote about this. Dante, when he wrote the Divine Comedy, Hell, Purgatory, and Paradise, you have to ascend from these things. This is hell on earth. The only way to escape is to deal with the things that keep holding you back. Some of them, they're not conscious. You might not see them consciously. Some of them are subconscious. The only way to see them is to tap into your subconscious mind. Is to allow yourself to go within. Is to allow yourself to let go. They will all flood out. Eventually, they all have to. So, is the prince about power? No, it's not about power. It's about you. It's always been about you. You have to buy this book. It's always been about you. It will forever be about you, not about the other person. about why the world it is how it is today, why people are manipulating. It's not about that. It's about you. It's about you. You are the prince. You are the main character of your own movie. You have to direct it. You know, where you see like people are doing the wrong things, you have to cut and do retakes again. Because if you don't do retakes, you'll have a movie that doesn't have a good, what you call, a good oomph, you know, a good story to tell, you know. So we'll have to do retakes over and over. We'll have to do the same thing over and over. But it's all about you. It's always been about you. You know, when people say you're not the center of the universe, you are now. You've always been. The moment you were born, you've always been the center of the universe. The world revolves around you. The decisions that you make impact the world. It might be small decisions. They impact the world at a larger scale. But you cannot see it though. You are not allowed to see it. Your trauma doesn't allow you to see how the world revolves around you. And that is why the prince will feel like it's more about a narcissistic nature. Of course, it's about a narcissistic nature. Why? It's because Machiavelli understood that the world revolves around him. It's all about you. The decisions that you make, the choices that you make, what you choose to be enslaved to, you become what you consume. And what you consume tends to be the byproduct of the world. It's how you view the world now. It's how you perceive the world. So you get to understand that the world revolves around you. It was never about the other person. No, it was never about your family. It was never about your son, your daughter, or whoever. It was about you from the beginning. You know. So the prince is not about power. It's not about narcissism or whatever. Because people have to paint bad pictures about these words for a good amount of reasons. They have to paint them as bad ways. They have to paint them as bad actions. It's because those who are in power, they understand that the more and more you understand yourself, the more and more you become a threat to them. And the more and more you become a threat to the universe. I mean, to the whole world. The more and more you become a threat to the whole world. You cannot contain people like Kanye West because they understand themselves. You cannot put him in a box because he understands himself. You know, he understands both the dark parts of himself and the good parts of himself. So now the question becomes, are you going to let the world revolve around you, or are you going to revolve around the world? That's the question to you.